We couldn't put this one off forever, could we? Love and Monsters. I know because some of you guys have been really upfront about the fact that you were looking forward to me talking about and most likely tearing in to what might well be the most railed against single episode of Doctor Who. So, where do we begin? Well, unexpectedly, I'm going to begin by pointing out the merits of the thing. So, here's the thing. And it's not that I didn't recognize this when I saw it before. The episode's not exactly subtle in terms of what it's doing. But I feel like I appreciated what it was going for a little bit more because it is ultimately... It's a story about fandom, is what it is. Because you've got this group who, you know, they all have an interest in the Doctor that unites them. That's a commonality between them. They find other things they enjoy. They find other ways to, have fun with each other. But then there enters a different kind of fan. One who basically claims that they're doing fandom wrong and they need to be doing it his way. And he takes control, and when they, start to resist, he absorbs them to make them like himself. And it turns this group of what had just been fans into a group that is hunting and hurting people. And it is, I'm not sure if it was a term really being bandied about at the time, but it is a story about toxic fandom. And I don't think it's completely coincidental that the Absorbaloff looks a bit like a troll. And I did double check, and the term internet troll had already been in use for quite a bit of time when this thing aired. So I can look at that and go, man, it's quite possible that this is even more, topical now than it was at the time it was originally made. And now here's all the reasons why it still doesn't friggin' work. So, like I said, I can recognize what it was going for, and I'll even give it like a little bit of additional credit in that it tries to make pretty clear just how goofy this is going to be really early on, because in the, even the cold open, it seems like it might just be Doctor Who standard from a different character's perspective, but then you have the Doctor and Rose and whatever the heck this alien is, I don't think we ever find out what the name of the thing is, literally Scooby-Doo chase each other through a series of doors. And that's a pretty upfront thing of being like, this is a silly episode. So, the thing tries, but it doesn't work, and here's why not. So, first thing, let's just deal with the elephant in the room. The Absorbaloff doesn't really work. It doesn't really work. It kind of works as a concept. It doesn't fully come together as a visual design. And the performance doesn't really work either. I mean, I feel a little bit bad for the guy because he's obviously trying to be a comedic villain, which is not an easy thing to do, for anyone to try and pull off. So, I don't envy him that job. And also, I am also aware that the original concept and rough design of the thing was done by a child as part of a contest. I am aware of that, but that doesn't give it a pass because it's the job of the show, the writers, the makeup artists, and everything else to make that work, and they didn't. So while I recognize that, that doesn't mean it gets a pass. And that's the other thing. I rewatched this and I recognized all the things that it's saying about fandom, all the things that it is saying about the way that a mutual love of something can bring people together, but how that can also turn nasty and drive people apart and become destructive. I can appreciate all that it's doing there. The problem is, and this is a problem that I've had with more than a few things over the years. This is part of the problem I had with the ending of Cabin in the Woods. The analog, the metaphor, the allegory cannot be the reason something works. An allegory, a metaphor, an analog, whatever it may be, whatever point, beyond the immediate story that is being made, can enhance a story, can make it deeper, it can give it layers. But it can't be the reason it works. The story has to still work, even if it wasn't an analog and it wasn't an allegory. And this doesn't. What little appreciation I have of it is only there because I'm recognizing what it is saying about fandom. But if I take that away and just look at it as a narrative, it's boring and it's silly and it's stupid and it's badly paced. And that's kind of the end-all be-all of the whole dang thing, really. And the guy who plays Elton is fine. There's the whole weird thing with the block of concrete, which also the joke that the thing ends on, which, like, really? And the thing just can't seem to fully decide on a tone either, because it's being goofy, yet at the same time characters are dying. And it tries to have some emotional weight of the impact of this new figure on Linda. This one, Linda with an I, not Linda with a Y. I don't know if that was intentional connection, but that one did occur to me watching it this time. But I just... It's trying to have emotional stakes at the same time that it's just being ridiculous. And I'm not saying a comedy can't have emotional stakes or be emotionally impactful. It absolutely can. But, like, something where every element is this laughable, where the characters behave this ridiculously, or in the case of the Linda members, this stupidly. Like, I don't care if you don't know that he's an alien. Everything about this guy is super suspicious. Oh no, don't go with your friends. Stay here. Just for a little bit. Oh, they haven't turned up again? Oh, goodness me. The messages and the concepts about fandom are not horrible ideas as a launching pad. They're not terrible ideas as an underlying bit of theming. But it's just treated narratively so ridiculously, which I think is part of why it doesn't feel like a celebration of fandom. It feels like a mockery of fandom, because it feels like a mockery of an episode. And so when I say it's a mockery, that's not necessarily by intent, that's by feel. How you're left feeling is like, this just mocked everything. And it not in a way that feels pleasant, not in a way that feels loving. I wouldn't go so far as to call it mean-spirited, but it just isn't finding the value in the ridiculousness that it's laying out. And I don't particularly like what it does with Jackie. I don't think, because it would have been one thing if this was like new information. The fact that she is this kind of lonely and that she has this gravitation towards men. But we knew that. We knew that from literally episode 1 of the new era of Doctor Who, when she saw Eccleston and she was like, "Oh, you're here. Anything could happen." The doctor just goes, no, and walks away. Like, we knew immediately. So this is not new information, and dwelling on it with Elton, it just feels kind of mean. It's like we're wallowing in somebody's sadness. Like, the whole thing, it's just tonally and thematically at odds between what it's trying to do and the feel it wants to have, yet the way it's approaching all this stuff. The thing's just a mess, top to bottom. And yet, at the same time, underneath all the elements that don't work, which is almost all of them, the monster doesn't work, the dynamic between the characters is okay-ish, the narrative device of Elton talking to the camera doesn't really add anything, the threat is goofy, and yet people are dying. You know, all of these problems are all layered over the initial starting kernel of the theming of talking about fandom and how it can be a wonderful thing or it can be an awful thing. And that, again, had potential. Like, going back and watching it this time, I could even see how if it was actually a good episode, these themes could have made a good episode great. But because it's not a good episode, instead, it just makes a bad episode pretentious. So that's Love and Monsters. I don't know if people were expecting an angry rant out of me on this. I think some folks were, but I'm just mostly bewildered by the thing, and I'm more frustrated than angry. Like, if I hadn't found anything of value, if I hadn't found this sort of nugget of the underlying themes and appreciated them more, because like I said, it's not like I didn't realize it was about fandom, but like I didn't really because I hadn't revisited the episode, I didn't go back and really examine the ways in which that all plays out, and there's some real potential in that idea, and it just makes me frustrated as opposed to angry. So, Love and Monsters. What are your thoughts on it? Whatever they are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. A whole bunch of stuff we can do because there's buttons and links and all sorts of stuff down below. There is a P.O. box. There's merch. You know, check it out if you feel like it. There's my Patreon. But you know what? If you don't want to look at any of that or any of the other links that are available down there, that is okay. Because at the end of the day, you are the council. I'm just running the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned.